The Miami Heat have a golden opportunity that has just been thrown their way as a massive bombshell report has just come out surrounding the Miami Heat as they continue to look for another number one option for this team as they look to build up their NBA contention hopes. And now a clear-cut favorite for this Miami Heat position has come into the surface, and we are going to break all of that down, discuss how this is possible, exactly why the Heat have this golden opportunity, and why they have to take it right now or risk losing it forever. And we are going to jump right in and explain all of that, guys. But before we do that, here's the big thing. Make sure to subscribe to Miami Heat Digest if you do not want to miss a single Heat update. We got a lot of great videos coming out every single day that you do not want to miss out on. The Miami Heat are just right back in style right now, and it's absolutely awesome to see them back. We're seeing a lot of good out of the Heat, but there is one thing that is very clear here. They don't have that number one option. Now, I know Tyler Hero is out right now, and he's going to be out for the first 15 or so games of the NBA season, which is not ideal. But on top of that, the Heat don't really still have that star power even with Hero there. Yeah, they have two all-stars in Hero and Bam Adebayo. Can they be all-star starters? Maybe, but probably not. The Heat do need that number one option, and that is something that we know Pat Riley is out there looking for. He still wants to get this team its number one guy. A guy who they can really trust to put the ball in his hands and know that he, any given year on a great team, would be right at the top of MVP talks. That is how the Heat work. It's how they always have worked. It's how they will continue to work. We understand that about the Heat. We've all been here before. We've seen this before, so it's not going to be surprising to see all this stuff still come down. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about those guys. With all that news of Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Knicks really coming out, it feels like the Heat are losing traction on Giannis, and they will have to look in other directions. And they have, and now we see an absolute bombshell report that has come out regarding the Miami Heat as their number one target has been mentioned by Greg Shorts of Bleacher Report that they should look at is none other than Zion Williamson. Zion is an absolute NBA star when he's healthy. The big question is, when is Zion going to be healthy? Now, fans are split on Williamson. The man lost a ton of weight over the last season or the last offseason or so, and he looks absolutely great. Zion looks locked in like never before, which is absolutely huge for the New Orleans Pelicans. But also, with Zion being subject to a lot of trade talks and the Heat being consistently rumored to be landing Zion Williamson, it's not surprising to see this whole thing start to go down regarding Zion. Now, Greg Shorts talked about this, saying the Miami Heat look more like the Miami lukewarm on paper right now, with no real chance at a title this season unless they make a swing for a big trade. A deal for a newly slimmed down Zion Williamson would breathe some fresh life into the franchise. Now, Zion was absolutely excellent last year. Looking thin, looking lean, looking mean. Zion in 28 minutes per game last year put up 24 points, 6 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists while out of shape, getting a block and a steal per game, shooting 56% from the field. Zion absolutely is that guy. We know how dangerous he can be, and also with a team like Miami, with Bam who spreads the floor out, it is an absolutely perfect move. You have the strongest power forward center duo, like physically strongest power forward center duo in the NBA, and though they might look a bit undersized, you could still put Khalil Ware because of his shooting into those lineups if you're able to keep him. That's obviously the big question. Would you be able to keep Khalil Ware, or would he end up getting shipped off in a Zion trade? Now, most likely we would see Ware somewhere in this deal to land Zion. It just makes the most sense right now. He's the Heat's blue chip prospect, or blue chip asset, we should say, or well, prospect works too. And when it comes down to it, we're likely to see Khalil Ware be involved in any sort of trade talks involving a star player. With Ware's ability to dribble the ball and shoot at 7 feet tall, it does become very quickly one of those situations where we look at a unicorn-type player and understand, okay, he's probably going to have to get moved in any true deal for a star. That's just what we're looking at. That's the world that we live in right now. And Heat fans on Reddit have talked, even recently, about Zion Williamson if trading for him is worth considering in 2025. With the poster of this video, or of this topic, saying that I know he's very prone to injury, but we were just in trade talks for a 37-year-old KD, and after Pat said we weren't running it back again, I'm just ready to see someone new to give this year some sort of semblance of confidence, which is understandable. And the fans, they mostly like the idea of Zion, though it was split. Obviously, this came out after he was accused of a certain situation that we're not going to get into on this channel, but it seems like that has died down, which hopefully just nothing happened with that. Like, you know, Zion is innocent and all that stuff. But to push past that, it was mentioned that it would be the ultimate test of Heat culture, that's for sure, with one of them saying, I think Pat would turn the locker room into a season of Lost. On top of that, it was also mentioned that I still like Zion as a basketball player. I'm just worried about what he's going to do on his free time, especially with the woman of Miami. Someone said it's sauce and toss. And Pat Riley will especially have a keen eye, not let a Magic Johnson situation happen again. And they said it's Butler drama times 3. So there is that thought, but at the same time, we know what Zion does on the floor, and a lot of that, and he does deserve a lot of credit for what he is able to do on the floor with his teams. The man also lost a ton of weight this offseason. He looks great. He looks thinned out. And his MVP, he's now considered a top 10 MVP candidate after losing weight, as he's now a 250-1 odds for the MVP. A race that's dominated by Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with other guys like Luka Doncic sort of float, and Giannis obviously floating around out there. It does become one of those things where we're like, okay, maybe Zion on a new team is going to help him too. He'll be more in the spotlight. He'll have less time to kind of be hidden away in the small media market that is New Orleans basketball. Remember, New Orleans football is a different story, but basketball, it is a lot different. The Pelicans are not cared about as much as they are, or as the Saints are. And the Saints are terrible, but it doesn't matter. I mean, as mentioned by, Stephen A. Smith, who was tough to quote a lot of the time, he said this about Anthony Davis, and the same does apply to Zion when it comes to winning MVPs. You're not winning an MVP in the Smoothie King arena. Nobody there is caring about basketball. There's no basketball culture really there to begin with. And maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but the sentiment is true. They're just not that cared about. And being bad forever really hasn't helped. Being a team with one star who gets injured a lot and happens to play power forward, it's really become one of those things where it's like, okay, I mean, obviously there was Chris Paul as well for that time, but like after that, like the Anthony Davis stuff. And still, this has been a team that gets one star that they draft high up and then have never been able to do anything since that. We haven't seen that change yet. And if that's not going to change, there is a lot to kind of understand with like, okay, it's going to be hard for them to contend. So can the Heat pull off a deal where they do land Zion? That's a big question that we have to ask ourselves. And with Zion's contract, the man has 3 years left before he hits unrestricted free agency at 28 years old. He's still just 25. The Pelicans have him under contract, so they don't necessarily need to trade him or risk losing him imminently. They still have time. But if Zion does want out, if he wants a change of pace, the Heat are the right team, because the Heat can make a deal where they give 2 firsts, maybe one with a pretty high protection, or not a high protection, but a top 10 protection that conveys into a couple second rounders, along with Kel'el Ware and expiring contracts like Terry Rozier and Simone Fontecchio in exchange for Zion and Sadiq Bey. All of a sudden, the Heat do have that star player. They have Bam, they have Tyler Hero, they have Zion. It mixes well. They get more depth in Sadiq Bey when trading away Kel'el Ware and Simone Fontecchio, 2 guys who are going to have bigger roles in the front court as well. Yeah, they'll be thin big man wise. Precious Achiuwa is going to have to play a big role, and on top of that, we'll likely see some other deals happen subsequently so the Heat can add another true center onto the team. But it is something that we should explore. It just makes sense to go out there and at least try to see what happens. I mean, the Heat would be giving up Kel'el Ware, a man who puts up 9.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block per game, who looks like he's got an excellent future ahead of him. But it makes sense at the time. They also trade off Simone Fontecchio, who's looking for a bounce-back year, and Terry Rozier, who is the same. The Pelicans get a lot of money freed up in their system and can do a proper rebuild, while on top of that, we also see the Miami Heat go all in. It makes sense for both sides. I want to see it happen. What do you want to see happen? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.